Being a Marine Corps helicopter pilot and commissioned officer, it provided me many opportunities to truly learn what leadership is, even through the most dangerous and dynamic environments that anybody has ever gone through. You see, the mission of a casualty evacuation pilot is to lead a team of 6 or 7 people in the helicopter to go into a battlefield and pick up the injured and take them to life-saving facilities that allow them to be able to have a home life when they return. That mission is very important and very close to my heart for the fact that I get to be the guy who leads teams that saves lives. Also, we fought wildfires in the United States. We were able to have a crew of 4 be able to fly in the most horrendous terrain with mountains of California and being able to cool down the fires to allow the ground people to put out the fires. In those instances, leadership became the most important talent to have. And it wasn't that you're born with it, it was what I've learned through failure. You see, when I first got to the aviation community, I was taught that nobody's gonna do what you order them to do. They're too smart, they have power to keep you from being a flying pilot by downing your aircraft. You have to win them over with true leadership. I took that statement and made that my goal, to be a real leader that inspired others to join me in creating these successes and going to harm's way. Here's what I learned from this experience. First is the mission focus. Not only do I need to be focused on the mission, I need to keep the whole team focused on the mission. The fact that somebody's life is hanging by the thread of getting them to a facility and the talented people that can save their lives. And they only have 1 hour from time of injury to get into that life-saving facility. And it's our job to get there the fastest means possible. By being able to help your people become compartmentalized within those structures, allows everyone to know their piece of the puzzle to create the whole picture. Next skill that I was taught was decisiveness. The ability to make the tough decisions, even though there's easier solutions out there, but making that right decision that protects you, your people, and the equipment that you're entrusted with. I was 20 miles outside friendly lines where I had to land my helicopter out in the middle of the desert because the utility system caught on fire. The easy answer is put it out and keep flying home. The right answer was land immediately and call for help so there's no further damage or any putting our crew at further risk for the aircraft to fail and drop out of the sky and killing us all. By having the ability to make the right decisions allowed me to be trusted with more responsibilities and allowed me not to be benched because of the decisions I made. By making sound decisions, by sharing with others my decision-making process, it enabled me to be able to continue on flying, to continue on being in charge when most other pilots would have been benched or put on the sidelines for making a bad decision, like continuing flying a faulty aircraft that could kill everyone. Another thing that we learn is effective communication. I cannot stress enough how much communication is important because it's the thing that holds all the skills together. It builds your situational awareness, allows you to make proper decisions, it allows you to be able to entrust others to make decisions. The communications that you use are very important. It's about knowing the 3 elements of communication, and it's also about knowing what words have meaning within the dialogue that you're having. Every organization, every relationship has a communication problem. And it's because the words that we use and the emotions and tones that we use get all mixed up and aren't clearly understandable. By working through what words mean to each other and what that can allow for an open communication without emotional feedback goes a long ways. And trust me, I'm still learning that these days. I'm still failing at communicating effectively because of the interpersonal communications of not knowing the other person well enough. Adaptability and flexibility is the core of true resource management. This is the knowing when to go off script. One of the things that as a troubleshooting pilot you learn is, yes, there's emergency procedures. Do not let sound judgment be bypassed for these procedures. By knowing the situation well enough, I'm able to go off script, make good decisions, and then execute the procedures as needed. Right, how do you come up with that? That's continuously growing, continuously learning the systems, continually learning how your environment works or how your industry works. It's about being that intuitive expert. But just because you're learning the tricks of the trade doesn't mean that the tricks take over the trade. You still have to be able to make sound decisions and be able to show others, especially your bosses, how you came to these conclusions and that these were sound and effective processes that led to good successes and not just luck. Teamwork is very essential. Just because I'm in the cockpit doesn't mean I can get out of the cockpit and help out in back. And the people in back don't have the ability to jump in the cockpit and help out. We all have to trust each other to do each other's jobs. I rely on my crew chiefs to be able to tell me about the maintenance of the aircraft, to be able to utilize their machine guns to suppress enemy activities. I don't have that ability to touch those machine guns because I'm on the controls, or I'm supervising my co-pilot who's on the controls. And I'm not a medical doctor, so there's not very little I could do to help save lives. Everyone trusts each other to do their part to be part of the whole team. So for a casualty evacuation, the doctors are the star of the shows because they're out there, they run out there with the litter, they pick up the injured and they start patching them up, getting them ready for surgery. The crew chiefs, they're telling me that my aircraft is functioning properly and that they have machine guns ready to go to suppress any activity. And for me and my co-pilot, it's the ability to control and maneuver that aircraft in a safe manner while still effectively moving at the fastest pace possible to get those people to that life-saving facility. Resilience. When you do 7 months out in Iraq, you have to have the resilience to bounce back from your bad days. Just because you have that one bad instance, you have to be able to rebound to save that other person, because they don't deserve to die because of something happened earlier that isn't part of them. You have to put that aside. You have to figure out how you build yourself back up and how you get back out there and do it more effectively. Remember when I talked about that my aircraft catching on fire and I had to land out in the middle of the desert? So after that night of being drilled about all the reasons why I did what I did and being second guessed about everything, I had to let myself reset and build myself back up to be ready to take on the challenges of the next day. We don't have the luxury of having pilots in depth with our skills that we were brought up on. My additional talent was troubleshooting. I had to be ready to troubleshoot all these helicopters so that the other pilots can have safe and effective running aircraft to save lives. I can't have a bad day because those people rely on me to help them do their jobs. And so is for anybody else. Just because you're having a bad day doesn't mean that people have to suffer for what you're going through. Accountability. I like this one to be related to how we are as pilots in the cockpit. There's always two pilots, and there's always one pilot that's placed in charge. Well, just because I'm the pilot in command of the aircraft doesn't mean that nobody holds me accountable. Trust me, everybody holds me accountable, just as I hold them accountable. I hold the crew chiefs accountable to making sure that our aircraft is operating properly and that we're making safe maneuvers in a highly congested area or in an urban situation. They hold me accountable to fly the aircraft safely and effectively without scaring them and the passengers in back. For my fellow pilots and myself, we hold each other accountable. We lay down the parameters of which we'll fly. We talked about our airspeed, our direction, and our altitude. And in those three things, we talk about we have to stay within a certain parameter so we don't get a flight violation, which means we probably won't be flying much longer. By having that accountability back and forth, so even if I'm the one on the controls, I depend on my co-pilot to call me out when I'm getting dangerously close to getting us a flight violation. Because it's not fair that my co-pilot gets or loses their ability to be a pilot because I got the flight violation, and vice versa. And then continuous learning. For me to be a pilot in the Marine Corps and to be able to make all 22 years in the Marine Corps, I had to have the ability to keep learning. If I was not progressing to the next qualification, I would have been let go. And when my helicopter was retired, there's nothing worse than a pilot who doesn't have an aircraft. They usually get sent away. But because of my ability to learn and be challenged to learn, I was able to learn a new aircraft in the tilt rotor of the Osprey. Having that ability allowed me to have longevity within the Marine Corps to make it to retirement. Same as with anybody else in the Marine Corps. Their ability to provide value comes from continuous learning. By having broad, vast experiences allows members to be trusted with more complicated tasks that the Marine Corps looks for. Some of the people that didn't make it as pilots who lasted longer than most of us was their ability to learn a new skill, to be a good staff member, to be a good leader within the staff community, and to be able to grow in that environment and do better than what they could have done as being just a pilot. Those people have done phenomenal things, and just because they didn't make it as a pilot does not mean they were not valuable to the Marine Corps. And the Marine Corps saw that and helped them progress along the way because of their ability to continuously learn. These are just a few of the things that I learned about leadership from being a casualty evacuation pilot, from flying helicopters during combat and flying helicopters during natural disasters, doing that humanitarian assistance, that disaster relief, the things that we as American military do well with our civilian counterparts, is the ability to share and help each other out. Because of these lifelong lessons, I want to share them with you. I want to share these ideas that I learned without you experiencing the hardship of warfare, without actually needing to join the military. By learning these ideas, you'll be able to use it in your communities. Whether you're in corporate, nonprofit, or government, you're able to use what I'm sharing here to make you successful. I'm Eric, Leadership Development. If you like this video, hey, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up. Tell us that you like what we're talking about here. It will help YouTube spread it out to more growing leaders so they can grab some ideas about how their leadership can improve. If you missed any of our previous videos, hey, check them out. They're right over here. We'll talk to you again next video.